interface. Once you have clicked decisions, you are taken to the tutorial page. And the next page is the outlooks page. And this is really important for you to read before you start making decisions for a particular round, because this includes information about what is happening in the operating environment. And before you start the entire exercise, you want to read the case description and from under the readings. And then at any point during the decision-making process, you can open the decision-making instructions that gives you detailed information about those different particular decision-making sections. So Outlook page, remember to read when you start decisions for the new round. Then we go into the actual decision-making process. We start with store A, and the first page is the pricing page. And here we can see white cells and we can see blue cells. In this simulation, white cells are always considered to be your decisions. So whatever you put into the white cell will then be compared against the other team's decisions at the time of the deadline. Whatever you put into the blue cells will be your estimation that's going to be used when the system is calculating your budgets. And you do not compete against the computer, but when you make decisions, you influence your competitors and vice versa. So in essence, you play against the other teams in the market, and all the teams are starting with exactly the same market shares and same resources. So depending on how you start playing, then you will see the results moving along. Now we have different product categories here, and then we have a couple of services. Now your instructor may have decided to use different product categories. So these lists are not exhaustive, but if you see something else, then it just means that your instructor has decided to include those product categories in your simulation. In any case, the principle is the same. The decision is given here as a markup. And then, for example, now we can see that for the confectionery, our last period markup was 70. Now we are adding it to 80, which is then reflected in the selling price. This round 149 and last round 144. Then our sales estimation is now 8,000 units, and last period we had 10,000 units. Now, when we set these sales estimations, then we want to take into account how much we have been selling in the past. We want to take into account what it says in the market outlook. Plus, we also want to take into account what we think the competitors will be doing. And this way, we can then hopefully develop ourselves being better and better planners for each of the rounds. Now, in this simulation, you make decisions for each quarter. So the year is split into 4 periods, which are 13 weeks in length. And that's the period for which you make the decisions every round. But for each of the product categories, the principle is the same. Markup here and sales estimation here, and then the chart on the top then just gives you a quick idea how your decisions and estimations compare to the previous round. Then we go into the advertising section, and in the advertising we have first of all decision about the advertising budget allocation. So we decide what is the proportion of the sales revenue that we allocate for advertising. Then we decide how we split that between external and in-store advertising, and then we can make category-specific discount campaigns. So here we are able to decide what is the duration of the campaign and what is the size of the discount. So next we come to the layout page, and on this layout page we decide how we allocate different product categories into our store. So here you see the shelves are numbered, and then in these drop downs you can select which category you want to allocate for each of the shelves. So for example, here we have now dairy and fresh products in the shelf number 3. So if I now decide to then put snacks and ice cream instead, then I have made the decision, so that will be placed there for this round. And this is quite an important part of the entire retail management. So when you do this store layout planning, then also read what it says in the manual, and then take into account what are these complementary product groups, because you want to place the complementary groups near to one another, and then try to make the best use of the space that you have in your store. Next, we have operations, and on the operations page, we decide the opening hours, and then based on the operating hours or opening hours, the system calculates how many hours we need, and the need is going to be then covered with permanent persons and also temporary hours. So last period we had 5 permanent people. Now if we have 5 again, then we have no hiring or layoff costs, and then the rest we can cover with the temporary hours. So now we seem to have a bit of a surplus. So if we want to make it a little bit less, then we could squeeze it a bit. But now if we don't have enough people, then we end up with lost sales and reduced customer satisfaction. So there's a balance between the two. And now if I would like to reduce my permanent staff, then currently I have no costs here. But if I would drop this to 4, then I can see that that's going to create a cost for me when I need to lay off somebody. Let's just leave it as it was. We also decide how much money we spend on the training, and when we invest into training, then people will be more efficient, and we get the work done with lesser number of people. Ordering is an important part of this simulation. So here we decide what is the kind of inventory buffer that we maintain. So here we can see what is the estimated weekly sales in units. This comes directly from your sales estimations, but converted to weeks. Then we decide how much we want to have on average available. So now if we say that 1.2 weeks of supply on hand, so then it means that about 20% more we are maintaining compared to what we are planning to sell. And now if I drop this to 1, then it means that I'm planning to keep exactly the amount of estimated sales. So if my sales are fluctuating, as they probably are, sometimes I'm then going to be selling, not going to be able to fulfill the customer demand, so I'm going to end up with lost sales. So it does make sense to keep a little bit of a buffer, but at the same time, the more buffer we keep, the more money we tie into the inventory, and then the potential for shrink goes up as well. And the shrink estimation you can do here. Investments, last page here. There are some investments that have already been done. It says already invested. And then there are a couple of investments that we can still do. For example, this remodeling investment, we can decide. And in order to decide that, we have included this kind of investment calculation where you can change different parameters and see if that would pay off or not. Same goes with the fuel pumps. This investment hasn't been done yet in this particular store. Now we looked at the store A, then we already have store B operational, and with that we have similar kinds of decisions, but this store has different demographics, which are explained in the case description. So as mentioned earlier, read the case description in order to make well-informed decisions. But technically, the decision-making flow is similar, but the customer demographics and preferences differ from one area to another. Also, the investments are a bit different in this particular store B. Store C is something that we are considering, but we have not invested yet. So if we decide to go for it, then we have to make the decision. And all these investments, they come into effect with 1 period delay. Time allocation. On this page, we decide, first of all, how we divide our time, our management time between store A and store B. 50-50 by default. Then we decide how the time is divided between different tasks. We have general duties, marketing, financial control, and the rest will go to shop floor. And all these are explained in the manual what it actually means if we decide to allocate more time in the general duties or financial control. And then we decide how we want the personnel to allocate their time between sales and customer relationships versus cashier versus replenishment. Finance, and on this page we can see the cash flows for both stores, and then we can decide if we want to raise more loans. So basically each of the stores can increase loans or pay off loans, or we can also decide to move funds between the stores. So if we see that one store is generating plenty full of cash, then we can decide to move it from one store to another if we like. So as it says here, transfer from store A to store B is plus, and from B to A is minus. Then we have the projections, which then shows us the previous round actual figures, and then it shows this round pro forma statements or budgets. And then we have the entire consolidated income statements, and then we have separate statements for each store. Finally, we have the decision checklist, and on this decision checklist page, we can see each of the team members' decisions side by side. So now I've been operating in this team as Megan, and in my team I have Pamela, William, and Alice. So here each column shows what each person has done, and then together we need to decide what decisions we want to submit as a team. So now, for example, if we say that we want to take Megan's decisions as the team decisions, then we click copy as team decisions, and then it moves everything from Megan's column to the team column. And what we have in this team column at the time of the deadline will then be used to calculate the results for the round. Now, I can also step into the other decision-making areas by clicking this Go button. So Go button allows me to go inside Pamela's or William's or Alice's area, and the Go button also allows me to go to the team area. So now if I say go here, then I make changes in any of these pages, then I will automatically be modifying the team decisions. So in a team of 4, in the end, we may end up having like 5 different sets of decisions, one by each individual team member, and then one by the team. This import button here allows you to import decisions from somebody else's decision-making area. So let's say that Pamela has done a good set of decisions on Monday, and I'm making mine on Tuesday, and I want to use her as a base. I can click this import button. This import row may not be visible in your particular decision checklist if your instructor has decided to disable that. At the time of the deadline, then the system calculates the results, which become available under the results section, and we show all the results side by side. So you can analyze your own performance, plus you can benchmark against the other teams. So you find the key indicators, then you find the market reports, procurement, and all that. Then it's possible for you to also download this as an Excel file. It's possible to print, but obviously you don't want to print on paper. But if you want to have like offline version of the results, you can print that as a PDF file and keep it for your records. Or you can also find some slides by clicking this slide symbol here. You can also always go back to the previous rounds from the drop downs. Okay, thank you. That concludes our walkthrough of the decisions section.
Thank you, Veo. At this time, we'd like to wish you all good luck with the simulation. We hope you enjoy your experience. Bye for now.